So we're talking about a new rumor that's out there for something we're going to find out about here in just a couple of days, because it has to do with Gamescom and that's to do with a major third-party game we know 1000% is going to be at Gamescom. In fact, it's going to be at Opening Night Live, but it's coming to Nintendo Switch 2, supposedly, reportedly, rumored to be coming to Nintendo Switch 2. And this is really exciting because it means there's a major third-party announcement. And the thing is, it's not just that it's coming and going to be announced this week for Switch 2. We're going to get to play demos of it. We're going to get to see it running on Nintendo Switch 2. That's the crazy part here. This is absolutely wild. I can't wait to dive into this because, guys, I told you this week was going to start getting exciting, and it's starting now with this rumor that's kind of a leak, but it's a rumor because there's no tangible evidence. The tangible evidence could pop up over the next day or two, but especially based on how this information is getting out there. That said, folks, hey, if you're enjoying this video, that is awesome. I would appreciate if you would subscribe to the channel. We're on our road to 160,000 subscribers, so I do appreciate if you subscribe, drop a like, and maybe comment on this video telling me what demo you're most excited to see gameplay from for Nintendo Switch 2 this week. Remember, we got two different events going on. We have the event in Canada, the Fan Fest, and we have the event in Germany, Gamescom. Both have Switch 2 demos. Which of those demos are you most excited to see? So, yeah, there's a bunch of demos happening that Nintendo pre-announced for Gamescom, right? We also have the announcements for the Fan Expo. We don't yet have the announcements for PAX West, but I have it on good authority that we will get those announcements sometime in the next week and a half. That said, we're talking about Gamescom. And we're talking about Gamescom because we now have a new rumor. Man, I really want to call it a leak, but because he didn't present the evidence forward, we have a rumor about Resident Evil Requiem. That's right, folks. Resident Evil Requiem, aka Resident Evil 9. We already know, thanks to Jeff Keighley, that game is going to be shown off during Opening Night Live. But now we have some information, courtesy of a fellow content creator who has someone attending Gamescom who's already been on the show floor, telling him that game is being demoed for Nintendo Switch 2 at the event. Oh, baby. What are we talking about? Well, we're talking about, I guess, is he trying to be a leaker now? We're talking about Switch Force. Here's what he said in his video today.
One of the potentially coolest things is going to be what I've heard from my source in Germany. Now, to be very clear, I have a photo of this, so I know that it is legit. At least legit in the sense of what I'm being told and what I'm about to describe to you. So, what I've seen is the setup for Gamescom, and they're setting up the show floor. We know Opening Night Live is on Tuesday, and then the show floor should kick off after that for the rest of the week. It's a big show, tons of people go, millions of people go, maybe not millions, hundreds of thousands of people go. It's very packed. But at the Resident Evil Requiem setup, okay, there's a big sign for Resident Evil Requiem, which is Resident Evil 9. We know it's releasing in early 2026, possibly my most anticipated game. And it's something I've said should come to Switch 2 because we should be getting all these big new games, right? Resident Evil games have been on Switch 1 in a cloud version, which, not going to settle for that. We need a cartridge-based Resident Evil Requiem. And in this photo, they are building Switch 2 demo stations right in front of the Resident Evil Requiem sign, okay? So, take that for what you will. I take that to mean there's a darn good chance that Resident Evil Requiem is going to be revealed for Nintendo Switch 2 at Gamescom, okay? Which is huge.
Now, look, that's really exciting. And it's exciting for a number of reasons. Not only because that's a major, massive game from Capcom that's not even coming out till next year, coming to Nintendo Switch 2. It's also just another great sign for third parties. And I'm going to tell you, it's a great sign for two reasons. One, it's a major AAA third-party game being announced for Nintendo Switch 2. But being announced for Nintendo Switch 2 outside of a Nintendo event, having demos for Nintendo Switch 2 outside of a Nintendo event. That's what's really exciting about this. Again, it is just a rumor, and I don't know his source, although I do trust Zach not to be lying. I'm sure he really has seen an image of the setup happening at Gamescom. I know I've been sent images of this stuff in the past for E3 and other events, so I do know these images do tend to get passed around at times, so I actually kind of believe Switch Force on this, that he really saw that image and this is a real demo going up at Capcom's booth. But I just want to say this is exciting on those two fronts. Again, major third-party game getting announced for Switch 2 that's not currently known yet outside of a Nintendo event, also being demoed outside of a Nintendo event, it kind of tells me Nintendo is starting to lift those restrictions on third parties, and they can kind of start dropping their announcements and putting their trailers out pretty much whenever they feel like it. I mean, maybe Capcom got an exception for Gamescom, and Capcom is one of Nintendo's major partners. Or maybe we're about to get the Elden Ring Tarnished Edition announcement for a release date, right? Maybe we're about to get another, Resident Evil. Oh, sorry, not Resident Evil. Square Enix. Oh my gosh, why am I 7? We're talking about Final Fantasy 7 Remake Integrate. Maybe that also is getting a release date. And again, that'd be outside of a Nintendo event. I think Nintendo is starting to ease back on the restrictions on those third parties. And after all, we did just have a third-party direct, and they're getting some announcements out now. Does that mean there won't be brand new announcements in a future Nintendo Direct? Well, of course, there's going to be new announcements, including from third parties, but this is a good sign. A major game that's 2026, and maybe that's the key, is that it's a 2026 game, getting announced for Switch 2 with a playable demo. What more could we ask for, folks, outside of, hey, Capcom, bring that demo to PAX West, please. Please, I already know you're there. You're already at Capcom. Maybe it's in the Nintendo booth. Maybe it's in the Capcom booth. I don't care. Please bring that demo there. I really want to try out the new Resident Evil game on Switch 2. Is that too much to ask? Maybe it is. Obviously, you can do whatever you want, Capcom. But this is just a really exciting announcement. This is the kind of stuff that we've been waiting for, and it sucks. I told you guys yesterday that a lot of our excitement, a lot of the stuff we can get excited about as like fans and gamers on Switch 2 is going to be the rumors and leaks. But here's the thing. It's a rumor and leak about an announcement that's happening this week. So with it being this week, that means things are starting to ramp up. I talked about how this week could be the week things start to ramp up. I was not actually expecting a lot of Switch 2 announcements, specifically at Opening Night Live, which for us is actually going to be in the middle of the day on Tuesday. But maybe my expectations are too low. Maybe I should be expecting things like Resident Evil Requiem to get Switch 2 confirmations at this event. So, are we going to get any other Switch 2 confirmations? Will there be any other third-party Switch 2 demos at Gamescom? I don't know, but the fact that there's this one already gives us one surprise for this week, seeing that game running on Switch 2. Again, assuming that Switch Forces Sword is legit, didn't fake the screenshot or whatever. Again, I haven't seen it myself. So obviously, I want to throw it out to you guys. Are you guys excited by this announcement? Even if you're not excited for this game, are you excited by what this actually means? Like an announcement for Switch 2, something new outside a Nintendo event, and having a demo outside of a Nintendo event? I think that this is all exciting stuff. I think all of us should be really looking forward to what this means moving forward, as now things can start to get a bit more interesting, as we're not always waiting for that next direct for potential new game announcements from third parties, at least. All right, folks, thank you so much for tuning in. I am Nathaniel Rebel Jazz from Nintendo Prime, keeping this nice and short for you guys, but hopefully you learned something today. Maybe you just learned it's a rumor, and we'll see what happens. That might be the best way to take today's news. All right, guys, we'll catch you in the next video.